All right. Thank you, everyone, so much for joining us on this Monday afternoon. My name is Paola Jaramillo Guajara, and I am the Community Engagement and Policy Coordinator in the Johnson County Board of Supervisors office. And we would love to welcome you to our last session of our Johnson County Resilience Task Force Spring/Summer series in 2026. Our focus this spring and summer has been food insecurity in Johnson County. So this event is being recorded and will be posted on the soon to be published community resources website. As you have questions during today's presentation, you can drop them in the question and answer box, and we will get them to Lisa at the end of the presentation. But with that, we are thrilled to welcome Lisa Spittler for some SNAP education. She is a SNAP outreach extraordinaire who serves 28 counties through her work at Riverbend Food Bank, Northeast Iowa Food Bank, and HACAP. So we are so grateful that we are one of those 28 counties and are so excited to learn from you today. So with that, Lisa, I know you have a presentation, but we'll hand it off to you.
Thank you. It's nice to see everybody. I'm glad I can be with you. I hope I can answer questions as best as I can. A couple things that I'm going to be focusing on, and I'm going to reference some materials that I'm going to try to introduce right now. First one is I'm going to hold up. These are what we call SNAP pads. They are pads of 50 sheets that can just be, the top can be torn off and handed off to somebody. If you know somebody who should apply for SNAP or might think about applying for SNAP, what it has is the SNAP hotline phone number on the page. They can call that. I'm going to be talking more about the hotline as we go on, but that would give them some assistance in doing the SNAP application. The other resource that is going to be available to you, and I'm going to be referencing and highlighting with this presentation, is what we call the Iowa SNAP Toolkit. This is a piece that's been put together for our partner agencies, for anybody to have a little bit of a brief overview of SNAP and applying for SNAP and what the process is and what are some helpful information to know. It is not intended to make you do the application with somebody. That's actually really not its intent, but to help you be able to access some information quickly and easily so that if there are questions, you can get folks pointed in the right direction. All right, so I wanted just talking a little bit about SNAP in general. We've recently had the big beautiful bill that was passed, and there are some effects from that. It is probably going to reduce some of that food assistance or make it a little bit harder for some folks to apply. But what's important to know is the SNAP does exist, program is ongoing, and we want to encourage people to apply. Other kind of tad bits. SNAP has a big impact not only on individual households and families, but also on our local economies. Again, you can see there for every dollar spent, a dollar of SNAP being used, it creates $1.50 economic activity. That doesn't sound like much on a dollar-to-dollar basis, but it is quite a bit. And you think about our local grocery stores, and especially in some of our smaller communities, this does make a difference. It does provide, we're looking nationally, $6 a day for almost 42 million people. And here's the fact that I like the best, and I'm not the one that came up with this, but for every meal that a food bank provides, SNAP can provide 9. Think back to when the government shutdown happened not too long ago. Food pantries and food banks were really getting hit hard because that's a lot of meals to make up for. SNAP makes a huge difference and, is really important. Okay, we have had some changes to SNAP most recently. One I'm going to talk about in a little bit, but the one here is the work reporting requirements. This is for a requirement for able-bodied adults. This requirement was expanded prior to November. This went from like ages 18 to 54. It's been expanded now 18 years to 64 years. If who do not have dependents, Before, it was if you did not have dependents under the age of 17 and below, so under the age of 18. Now that dependence piece has dropped down to under the age of 14. So if all of your children are 14 or older, as an adult, if you're able-bodied, you are required to work or volunteer. And what they're looking for is a minimum of 80 hours a month. There are still some exemptions, but some exemptions that used to exist no longer do, but some of them that still do are listed there. So if you have a disability or a condition that prevents you from working, that could be an exemption. If you're pregnant, some Native Americans, if you're caring for an incapacitated person or someone who just needs a lot of hands-on full-time care, or maybe a part of a drug or alcohol treatment program, you could be exempt from this work requirement. There's also been changes with immigrants. Immigrants has always been a difficult area. For the most part, folks have to be a citizen to get SNAP. There are still some categories of those who could be SNAP eligible, like those who have green card holders or in the country for 5 years or more, Cuban and Haitian entrants, or if you came to the country through a COFA, as you see there, and that would be especially like our Marshallese communities. Okay, the toolkit that I referenced, this is again developed by the Food Bank Association, Iowa Food Banks, and intended to just kind of help focus on SNAP outreach and how we do that. So we do have kind of a formal arrangement between Food Banks of Iowa and Health and Human Services that we will help people do the application and we get them into HHS while we're talking to them. So we're going to have like a little SNAP overview, lots of common asked questions, what to expect when you apply, and kind of a little bit more about that SNAP hotline that I referenced when I held up the SNAP pad. In Iowa, we basically have three major approaches to SNAP outreach, and this is really set up basically by food banks that serve the areas. As was mentioned, I am shared with and the SNAP outreach manager for Northeast Iowa, HACAP, and Riverbend food banks. And that would cover the area in the yellow, so most of the eastern part of the state. And so I do a lot of direct outreach, meaning I go to pantries, community meals, different various events, and with the goal to engage with individual households, finding out if they're getting SNAP benefits. If not, kind of taking a look to see if it makes sense for them to apply or not. My email is listed there, again, in the yellow box. You and anybody is welcome to email me directly if you'd like to know information or like me to come and be a part of a pantry or an event. I'm happy to make that happen as best I can. The three different colors, again, we do it differently. So I do a lot of in-person direct outreach. I also try to network with various organizations, knowing that the staff there will see people that I might not see. So we just really want to get the information out, get these pads with tear-offs out, and so help people and encourage them to apply. Okay, getting a little bit of looking at SNAP and who got benefits in fiscal year 25. So you can see the number of Iowa residents that benefited, so roughly 8%. A lot of these households have at least one child or more. A lot of them are also working families. There's also a great deal of households that have seniors and those with disabilities. So just to get an idea of who has been getting help. You can only get SNAP if you're eligible, and that's an important thing to understand. And I think there's a lot of myths and misperceptions about this. Basically, to be eligible, you have to meet specific income guidelines. Be a citizen or a qualified citizen, like we looked at in the last slide, or children who are born in the United States. Even if their parents are not citizens, their children might be. When we are talking about income guidelines, this is the current guideline, an example of that, where we would look at the number of people in a household and what their gross monthly income is. So if I was talking to someone, they were a household of one and their gross monthly income is less than $2,088, what I can tell them is that you might be eligible. However, I do also usually add in, just because you're below that income doesn't guarantee that you're eligible, but it does say you might be. And here's a little tidbit to always kind of keep in mind. Only Health and Human Services staff can tell somebody if they're eligible or not. Even though I focus on SNAP and do SNAP outreach, I can't tell somebody that they're going to be eligible, but I can say if you are at or below this income level, it does at least make sense to apply, and then I can help them do that process. These guidelines do change every year. And, sometimes when you talk to individual households, one of the things I'll hear them say is, oh, I applied once, but I wasn't eligible, so I don't apply anymore. It's like, well, a lot of things change, including the guidelines. And especially sometimes some folks who are close on the income guidelines, they might be eligible, as of the next revision. Or a lot of times I also hear from them, it's like, well, I applied, and I ask, well, when did you last apply? And it's, oh, it's been 2 or 3 years. And it's like, well, a lot of things can change in that time, like the guidelines for income, like how many people are in your household, what your rent or what you're paying for housing. All of those things are important things to keep in mind. When somebody is determined to be eligible, they're going to receive what's called a SNAP EBT, which stands for Electronic Benefit Transfer Card. It looks and acts like a debit card once a month. Benefits are loaded, whatever they're eligible for. Will be loaded between the 1st and the 10th of the month. They'll have a date based on where their name is in the alphabet. It's going to be based on some things like their income and their household size. There are minimum and maximum amounts, but the amount that you get is, HHS really has some tight formulas that they have to go by to determine what each household can be eligible for. At the bottom here, again, is a reference to the hotline that's available Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. People can call. This is run by food bank staff, and it's for people living in Iowa. We will do the application with them over the phone, and we get it into Health and Human Services while we're talking to them. Okay, how to apply for SNAP. There's basically 3 primary ways. Folks can go online and apply that way. Folks can call or go to Health and Human Services offices and get a paper application, or people can call our hotline, or people can be referred to me within our 28 counties, and we will do the applications with them. I will do them in person or over the phone, make an appointment that works for both of us, and we'll do the application and get it in. Usually it takes about 30 days to go through the process. So the application gets in, HHS starts processing it, and HHS also has to do a follow-up phone interview with them. I really recommend the folks I'm working with, once your application is in, keep a very close eye on your phone, and watch the mail, because HHS usually sends a letter out that will say what day and what time frame for that phone interview to happen in. And if they don't get that phone interview in, then they will not be eligible. So that's a very important call. They will, after they have that interview or during the interview, they're going to be asked to present proof of some information, as you can see listed there, at least some of it. And then HHS has to receive that in a timely way. And then if they are eligible, then they'll get that EBT card in the mail and get them started. Okay, what can be purchased with SNAP benefits? This is also a change, and specifically a change for Iowa. Fruits, vegetables, meat, most groceries can be used and purchased with SNAP benefits. Things that cannot be purchased. Some have been forever, like alcohol, tobacco products, paper products, store prepared foods, or going to like a fast food place and getting hot food, anything that has been restricted from SNAP for some time. What changed in Iowa as of January 1st is foods that basically can be charged with sales tax. So that would be like soda, candy, gum, vitamins, some different things like that. That was fairly well advertised. Folks are kind of getting used to it. There are some areas that gets a little tricky depending on, so like fruit drinks, for example, depending on the sugar content. And there, unfortunately, there's always some things that fall through the cracks for some people. So unfortunately, some things that they might have been able to purchase before January with their SNAP benefits, and even if it was something that it might have been healthy, but now if it can be charged sales tax, then generally they can't use their SNAP benefits currently. SNAP is not a permanent eligibility. Most people go through a review every 6 months. Some folks do it 12 months. It depends a little bit on the situation, but they do have to go through the review and do have to show that they are still eligible. If they are denied benefits, there is a process to appeal that, and that's definitely one of their rights. And it never hurts to be able to go talk to Iowa Legal Aid. They might be able to give a little assistance that way as well. If there's a change in their household, again, this can impact their SNAP benefits. Some changes might set them up for more benefits. Some changes might set them up for less benefits. But a change, it could be what you're paying for your rent. How many people are in the household? Did people add in? Did people leave? Was it another child born? Different things like that. The phone number that's there, and is in the toolkit, is the Iowa HHS customer service number. That's the best number to call to report changes. The other good number that's posted in there is I lost my EBT card. I hear this a lot from folks, or my EBT card is all broken or not working anymore. That number here is posted as to where to call to order a new card. And again, the hotline. This is run by food bank staff. It's available all week. We have a specific Spanish-speaking line available. And then because there are a lot of languages spoken in Iowa, we also work with a translating service. So if folks call in, we can get a translator on to make sure an accurate translation is happening. Okay, you are welcome to contact me with questions. I also encourage you to go to the Iowa Food Bank Association for lots of information, very helpful information. I also want to throw in a thank you. Riverbend staff actually created much of this PowerPoint, and I did some adaptations with it. So just to kind of give a shout out there. But I'm happy to entertain questions. I do want you to hopefully, I think it's going to be available to download or could be emailed out. This is intended, it's nice, short. I've always told people when I hand it out to them, I'm not going to read it to you. I can just wanted to go through highlights, but this is a really handy piece to have at your desk, and especially for those who are working with folks that might need assistance or have questions, to just kind of stay accurate on. And we do update it each year. So, and all the materials that we produce and use are all approved by Health and Human Services as well.